once was a boy named Samir, who lived in a small, poor village with his grandmother. Samir was the last in his class. His clothes were old and torn, and his shoes were worn out. His classmates often laughed at him because of how he looked and his poor grades. But what they didn't know was that Samir had a bigger problem. He couldn't see well. Everything was blurry, and it made learning difficult. But Samir didn't know he needed glasses, and his grandmother, who was very sick, couldn't afford to take him to an eye doctor. Every day after school, Samir would rush to the hospital to visit his grandmother. She was the only family he had, and he loved her more than anything. Even though he struggled in school, he always had a smile for his grandmother, hoping she would get better. But one sad evening, Samir's grandmother passed away. Samir was heartbroken and felt completely alone. One day, as Samir walked home from the hospital, a kind woman named Mrs. Clara saw him sitting on the side of the road, looking lost. She had seen Samir around the village and knew about his situation. Mrs. Clara lived alone, and her heart went out to Samir. She decided to take him in and care for him. From that day on, Mrs. Clara treated Samir like her own son. She noticed that he was having trouble reading and doing his homework. She watched him squint and struggle with the simplest things. One day, she asked, "Samir, do you have trouble seeing?" Samir hesitated and nodded. He had never told anyone before. Mrs. Clara immediately took him to see an eye doctor, who confirmed that Samir had very poor vision and needed glasses. When Samir put on his new glasses for the first time, everything changed. The world became clear, and for the first time, he could see the letters on the blackboard at school. With his new glasses, Samir's life took a dramatic turn. He became one of the best students in his class. He worked hard, studied every night, and never gave up. His teachers were amazed at how smart he was. Years passed, and Samir grew up to become a brilliant surgeon, known across the country for saving lives. One day, while working at the hospital, Samir came across a group of people he hadn't seen in a long time. His old classmates. They had come to the hospital for help, and when they saw Samir, they were shocked. They remembered the boy with torn clothes and poor grades, the one they used to laugh at. But now, Samir was standing before them as a respected doctor, feeling ashamed. His former classmates apologized for making fun of him all those years ago, but Samir smiled warmly and said, "I forgave you a long time ago." He hugged them and helped them in any way he could, not just as a doctor, but as a friend. Samir's story became famous in his village, a story of kindness, forgiveness, and determination. He had turned his life around with the help of someone who believed in him, and now he was using his success to help others. In the end, Samir proved that no